What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here. Delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. I am a #1 best-selling science fiction author and comic creator myself. So if you like my thoughts on comics, please go to my Amazon page, which is in the description below. Check out my novels and my comic books, which are all on there also. You'll probably dig stuff if you love classic Spider-Man. Now, this is Symbiote Spider-Man, and I picked these up kind of half price at my comic book store because they were, trying to get rid of some of their backlog. And this is a book by Peter David, who's a classic writer who writes a lot of good characters over the course of the years. And Greg Land does the art, who does a pretty good job on this as well. And I really enjoyed it. This takes place back when Peter Parker wore the alien costume, which eventually became Venom. Back in the late 200s issues of Spider-Man. That was a pretty good era for Spider-Man, all things considered. And I guess the first book was such a success, they kind of did a second version of this. Now, this is a much weirder story than that one. The other one was like very much a straight-up supervillain Spider-Man hunt sort of thing. This one actually starts out with Doctor Strange and Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, engaged in something, and Spider-Man fights Kraven here, but it really doesn't have anything to do with Kraven. You might think that he's going to get into this whole Kraven sort of deal and then have problems with him, but that goes away rather quickly as we go into a completely different story than you might expect here. Now, there's one thing about this Greg Land's art, which I mentioned in my last review, but he does these weird open-mouth porno faces, I call them sometimes, and I think they look terrible. I want comics to stop doing this. I hate when artists do this. I think it makes things look ridiculous and does not help comics whatsoever. I'm going to go on a crusade about that. I'm going to make all artists shamed who make those faces out there. Now, when Peter Parker gets back, he finds out that there's an issue with the Black Cat and there's something wrong, and he realizes, I'm not in the right world. And that's what goes on here. He's got Natasha Romanoff as Black Cat. And, hey, not so bad, all things considered. Nice little cheesecake action right there, as you might expect from a Black Cat book. So he goes to visit Doctor Strange, and, of course, because what's going on with reality? Well, check it out. The Hobgoblin's doing something here, and there's this book that of morals or whatever that helps rewrite reality or whatever it is. And the villains are after it, and Spider-Man's trying to get it before they do. Now, Doctor Strange has become like some hobo in this reality. Uncle Ben is alive in this reality, which is interesting. And very odd look for Peter Parker there. He doesn't really look like Peter Parker so much in this image. Odd. And then the Hobgoblin goes and kills him. Now, the Hobgoblin callback is because the Hobgoblin was such a popular villain during this time. It was a big deal during this era of Spider-Man, so it was a good call putting him in there. I really like this panel up here. I can't get a good close-up of it, but very nice work right there by Greg Land to make the Hobgoblin super villainous right there. And he ends up killing Aunt May instead of Uncle Ben in this one, which makes for a different weird reality. Now they go chase down this book and they try to get magic back for Doctor Strange. Overall, and it turns out Baron Mordo is involved in this, and they end up in this like nightmare reality by the villain Nightmare, which Spider-Man fully becomes Venom in this to then sort of foreshadow the future here, and you see J. Jonah Jameson as a hero here. You get all these like nice twists on the characters. Now, I don't like that as much. I really am not a big fan of like combining characters and twisting characters and things like that for books. I really like the first volume a little bit better because of that. But this is a pretty good Doctor Strange story set during this time period in terms of like alternate realities. And they eventually find their way back, of course. Now, like I said, I didn't like this storyline quite as much as the first one, but it's still pretty fun as all things go. Nothing super bothersome about it. It did work out. Everything kind of made sense. Peter David does a pretty good job of that. But I preferred that sort of like, street level crime Spider-Man that wasn't really venturing into alternate realities as much. It just feels better for Spider-Man. This felt more like a Doctor Strange story, like I said. Interesting they use both Ditko creations in this. All right, I'll call this one an 8 out of 10 as all things go, and we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to read the King in Black one because I'm not that interested in doing something with a tie-in. But I hope they do more of these symbiote Spider-Mans because they are a lot of fun. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.